Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about a cool new innovative handgun called the Boberg XR9-S. I've had this gun for a couple months now and I've been looking forward to doing this review. I've just been putting it off because I wanted to make sure I had plenty of rounds through the pipe so I could have a good, educated opinion about the gun. And just this weekend I hit 600 rounds, which I know isn't a ton, but I do think it's enough to have given me a good, solid understanding of how well the gun performs, how reliable it is, how it operates, things like that. So there aren't very many of these out there. I believe they first hit the market last November, December in 2011. And they've just really slowly been trickling out onto the marketplace. It's a real small company based in Minnesota. They only put out about 60 to 80 of these a month. So, if you do the math, there's probably a few hundred, maybe a little over 1,000 out there currently. And I think they're pretty interesting and pretty cool guns. So I have a feeling my subscribers will enjoy hearing about it. So to get started, like I said, it's the Boberg XR9-S, which the box is labeled XR9, and I think that's because I've heard that they were originally going to do a full-size XR9 version, and for reasons unknown to me, they went ahead and did an XR9S as a debut model. And I think eventually they're going to still, depending on the success of that short version, the S stands for shorty, but depending on the success of this model, I think they are still planning on coming out with a full-size version, and I hope they do because I'm on the waiting list for it. But so it's probably made in the USA, Minnesota, and inside you get a nicely produced manual. Nothing too exciting, just kind of manual stuff. You got a warranty card and parts list, things like that. Then you have the gun, extra magazine, and of course the obligatory safety lock. And I noticed that there isn't a spent casing or a couple spent casings, which I think makes it Massachusetts legal, so I guess you won't be able to get one there yet. Fortunately, unlike a lot of the guns I talk about, this one is modern manufacture, and not only that, but it's made in the internet age, which means there's a lot of information out there online at the Boberg Arms website. The inventor, Arnie Boberg, has a really strong web presence. He posts on forums a lot and everything, so anything you want to know about the background of this gun, the history, things like that, a lot of the tech specs and everything, his site is really thorough about that stuff. So just go to bobergarms.com. Don't need to spend a lot of time talking about all that here. So I'll just stick to talking about the gun for now. It's a 9mm pistol, double action only, single sack magazine, 7+1. It's really nicely constructed. It's got a solid steel slide and a real high quality aircraft aluminum alloy frame. Grips are plastic, but otherwise everything in it's metal. Has a real good solid build quality to it. And what makes the gun really interesting to me, the main reason I got it, is this innovative claw feed system, which I'm not sure if this will show up very well on the camera just now. I'll talk about it more in depth later, but can't really see it too well. Basically what it is that in almost any other semi-auto pistol design, what happens is you have a magazine here, and the slide as it comes forward, it pushes the round off the magazine and chambers the round so that it's sitting ahead of the magazine. This is almost in a way, it's like a bullpup pistol, in that there's a claw that pulls the round backwards out of the mag and then pushes it into place so that the round can actually sit right above the magazine. What that does is, you notice that there's not really any barrel hanging off the end here. You can get a full-length barrel in a smaller frame, because normally in a gun with that round sitting right here being pushed off forward of the magazine, you'll end up with like half a centimeter of barrel or something like that in front of it. In this gun, because the round is right there, you got that full barrel length, but yet you don't have the full dimensions of a bigger gun. And the point of that is to have a smaller concealed carry gun with full barrel potential, where you get better velocity, better muzzle energy. Both of those things combined make for a more potent package. The velocity especially is good with hollow points. It makes sure that the hollow points expand reliably. And that's really the point of it. But I just think the engineering behind it, which I'll talk about, is just really clever. And that alone is the thing that sold me on this gun. So I'll talk briefly about the appearance like I always do. This model happens to be in the platinum finish, which is the limited edition one, where it's got a nice satin chrome finish on both the slide and the lower half on the frame. There's also an onyx version, which is all black, and then there's also the standard version, which is just dual tone. It's black on the bottom and then sort of this silver color on top. I'm not really too big on the dual tone look, so for me it was a choice between the onyx and the platinum, and I just went with the platinum because I don't know, it just looks a little more classy maybe. I'm not into the tactical look as much. They're both limited edition though. You can customize the gun a little bit. You just go to Boberg Arms' website and there are different grip inserts that you can buy, different colors. Right now I think there's red, blue, and green, and I'd love it if they put some wood on there someday. I think that would look pretty sharp with this platinum finish, but they're just a few bucks. You can swap out the base plates of the mag and the grips to have just a little bit of different flair on your Boberg. Another key factor in the appearance of this gun is the complete lack of a barrel out front here, which you'd normally see on a gun. And the reason that is because it's intended to be a concealed carry piece. So I'll talk about the size of it for a moment. Pulled out my Walther PPS to compare, which is my preferred carry piece. And you can see that it is a small gun. This is a 9mm also. And I know not a lot of people actually really have much experience with these PPSs, so I do have my usual Beretta to compare to also. And I'll also overlay it with a picture of the Boberg and my dad's SIG P238 to give you a little bit more idea of the size. As you can tell, it is pretty small. The grip is small. Obviously there's no barrel here either. So in general the gun is very concealable in my opinion. It's actually more so than the Walther. I'll show you the thinness too, which is another thing I like about it, because not only is it thin, but there's nothing sticking off the sides. So it's real easy to slip into a pocket or something like that. There are a few holsters available. I'm not sure if there are any that are custom made for this gun just yet, but I have seen people that have modified off-the-shelf holsters to get this to work in there. But it's real thin, no kinds of knobs or anything or levers sticking off, so that's real nice. Should just compare that size too. And again, you can see the grip is real short. It's actually shorter than the PPS, which isn't a huge deal. Obviously in a concealed carry gun, the barrel length is much less important, I think, than the grip length. And I've got the 6-round magazine in my PPS, and this one holds 7+1, and it's the same height. So that's another advantage of this gun, that it conceals pretty well for that. Weight is about 18 ounces, so that's pretty lightweight, and that's done mostly through this lightweight aluminum frame. So overall, the gun is actually definitely concealable in my opinion. Ergonomics of the gun are pretty nice, pretty simple. Like I mentioned earlier, the gun is double action only, so thankfully there are no unnecessary safeties or anything like that. You pull the trigger and it'll fire. Because of that, there aren't really too many controls. Standard mag release right here. And there's the magazine, which may look a bit funny. I'll talk about that shortly. Over on this side, you don't really have anything. You have the ejection port, which looks kind of future-y and sci-fi looking, I think. It's just got so many little doodads going on in here. But otherwise, yeah, the ergonomics are real simple. It feels good in the hand, I think. Show you the sights. It's just a standard 3-dot sight arrangement. Not sure if it'll ever do night sights or not. I'm sure eventually. But this lever here is both a slide stop. Pull it back. You put it down to 90 degrees, and it'll keep the slide open for you. And it's also a takedown lever. Now I'll do that now to show you what is going on inside with this claw mechanism that I keep talking about. Just gotta drop the mag. So it flips forward, kind of like a SIG in a way. And on the inside of the gun here is where the magic happens, and this is the part that really appeals to me. There's the claw. And you can kind of imagine how this works. Actually got a 9mm round here. What it does is it grabs, talk about the magazine first real fast. Magazine is interesting too. You notice that it looks sort of backwards, and it's really just an illusion. It's not backwards because you're loading the rounds the correct way. It slopes a different direction. And what you do is you load the round in, nose first, like that. You insert it in the gun, and as the slide comes back, this claw hooks onto that round, pulls it backwards out of the mag, and then shoves it forward into the chamber, so that it's sitting basically like that. And that's how you get that extra, basically a cartridge length. You get that much extra length out of the barrel in the same dimensions of the gun. So that's really the coolest feature about this gun, is this really innovative claw system. You'll also notice the inside looks kind of strange because it has the recoil spring is way over on the side rather than being wrapped around the barrel or on a rod right down the middle. It's also real small, and what that does is it makes it a real lightweight pull when you're racking the slide. It's real effortless to pull the slide back and to rack it. And I kind of like that too. And all these little metal bits on the inside too are really nicely finished. Overall, the gun is produced very cleanly, I think. The machining is real nice, the tolerances are real tight, and just overall it definitely feels like a solid quality piece. It's not just like something some guy slapped together in his garage. You know, this is definitely pro level work here, which I think is impressive considering I think the company is real small. They only finish about 2 of these a day, so it's almost like a hand finished gun. The parts are made somewhere else. They're made by contract workers, I think, but they are finished in factory. And I believe that everything is made in the United States. Really, if I were to have any kind of quibble with the build quality on this, it would probably just be that the magazine is a little bit rattly inside the frame when you put it in there. And when I first pulled it out of the box, when I opened it, it felt kind of cheap because of that, because it does rattle. But apart from that, everything is definitely very solid, very finely machined and well built. So I'll put this back together and talk about shooting impressions. Before I put it back together, I do want to mention one thing real quick, is that this metal frame has real nice long slide rails, which I think is one reason why it's nice and accurate. Let you look at this just for a second too. Kind of dirty from shooting this weekend. I'll be honest, the first time out with this gun I was having a lot of problems, and not only were they problems, but they were really bizarre problems due entirely to this novel, unique feed mechanism. Because of this mechanism with the claw pulling the bullet out of the magazine backwards and then shoving it in, it's really ammo sensitive. And if you actually go to the Boberg Arms website, they have a list of proscribed ammo that you're not supposed to shoot in the gun. The reason you're not supposed to is because some brands of ammo don't have a crimp on the brass around the bullet which holds on to it nice and tightly. Because what would happen is, got a magazine here with a piece with a round in it. Sometimes, if you're not using the right kind of ammo, it'll pull the round out and leave the bullet in the magazine. And I actually have a round of that. This happened pretty frequently with one of the brands of ammo that's actually on the list of the no-no list. This is Federal Champion. And basically, every other round or so, shooting this, what would happen is, fire a round normally, pull the trigger thinking it would go off another round, and I just hear a pfft. And I look at my forearm, it was covered in unburnt powder. I'd have to drop the mag, eject this empty casing, which just had a primer on it and some powder, and I'd find the bullet sitting there in the magazine. That happened especially frequently with Federal Champion ammo, which, like I said, is on the list of ammo that you shouldn't fire on this gun, but I also had some Winchester White Box with me, and I was getting that problem every once in a while with that too. The Winchester White Box is on the good list, so I don't know what was happening there. However, that wasn't the only problem I was having. With the Winchester White Box, I wasn't getting the separation as much as I was getting this really hard to clear failure to feed problem. What that is, I'll overlay a picture so you can see it more clearly, but because of this claw, it needs to pull the round out and back and then line it up with the barrel and then shove it in. What would happen every once in a while is that the round would get stuck, pinned sort of between the barrel, the feed ramp, and the claw. And the claw is holding it in place. So in order to get that round chambered, what I had to do was stick a little tool in there, a little screwdriver, and sort of pry it up so that it was in line with the barrel, and then it was able to get shoved in. And because this claw is actually holding on to the round, you can't really just like pull the round out or drop the magazine and have the round fall out or anything like that. So that was really the only thing I could do, and I was glad I had that tool, because otherwise I wouldn't have had a very long range session, because it kept getting pinned right there. Those are the two main problems I encountered with this gun the first time out for the first couple hundred rounds, and honestly at that point I was kind of frustrated with it. It wasn't being very reliable at all. However, this past weekend I took it out again and it worked flawlessly. Had a great experience with it. I didn't have any problems whatsoever, no failures to feed, no bullet separation. I was shooting Winchester White Box and some Spear Gold Dots, and everything ran through it perfectly. And not only that, but I was shooting it accurately. So I talked to Arn Boberg about it, and he said that it was probably just a break-in period, because this gun is pretty tightly constructed. You know, the tolerances are real tight and everything. It probably just needed to loosen up a little. And I guess I believe it, because you know, I put a bunch more rounds through it and it's been running like a top. So shooting impressions, they started out pretty sour, but at this point I'm pretty happy with it. And I'll overlay a target. I actually am pretty accurate with it. First time out I wasn't shooting it too well because of the trigger. I'm just not used to this double action only type of trigger. Last time out this weekend though, that target I showed you was about 9 yards, and you know, I was shooting fine with it. I wasn't even trying that hard. So I'll show you the trigger pull real fast. Double action only, it's not too heavy. It is real nice and smooth. So as far as double action triggers go, it's actually not bad at all. And they actually sell different mainsprings that you can swap out to make a lighter or harder trigger pull. I just kept it as is, the stock spring. But, you know, like I said, overall shooting impressions right now are actually really positive, because I'm shooting it well. It is reliable now that it's been broken in a little bit more, I think. You just have to be real careful with the ammo that you use in it, which, honestly, I mean, that's a knock against the gun, but the same thing happens with LCPs, Ruger LCPs, and other small pistols, that you just have to find an ammo that works in your gun. So I'm not sure if that's a huge knock against it. You know, once it's running reliably on an ammo that you know you can count on, which for me was Spear Gold Dots, it worked perfectly. If I were going to carry this for self-defense, that's what I would use. So shooting impressions are good so far. Started out bad, now they're good. Another aspect of shooting this thing at the range is that because there's no barrel here, it feels a little bit scary and dangerous at first when you're shooting it two-handed, because you want to put your fingers are kind of up here, and it feels kind of like no man's land, but you eventually get over it and you get used to it, and it's not too bad. But that is sort of something that strikes you the first time you take it out and shoot with two hands. As far as recoil goes, I've seen some people say that it's real soft in the recoil department. Personally, I don't think that's true. I think it's about what you'd expect from an 18-ounce 9mm pistol. It's not really harsh, it's not really soft, it just feels about normal. Overall, it's pleasant to shoot though. It's not real, it's not hurting your hand or real snappy or anything like that. So it's not something that I would probably want to shoot hundreds and hundreds of rounds through, like a nice target gun, but it's pleasant. It's nothing like a little plastic Kel-Tec or anything like that. One other quick note about taking this thing to the range, it's kind of funny. Because of the magazine design, the way it's backwards, and by the way, there's no follower, you'll notice, which I believe is so that you can have an extra round in there rather than a little piece of plastic. It helps you get that 7+1. Kind of a funny problem was, because you load it in backwards, you put the round in this way. What would happen pretty often when I went to switch guns is I would start loading whichever gun I switched to the same way that I loaded the Boberg, and then when I switch back from that to this, it's just kind of confusing. And then putting the magazine in too is a little bit strange because it doesn't look natural to go in that way. So a lot of the time I'd try putting it in like this, which obviously isn't right. So just kind of a little funny aside, one of the little quirks of this gun. So now I'll do my usual criticism section, and originally going into this, my biggest criticism was going to be the reliability issues that I was having at first during that little break-in period in the beginning. Because this gun is clearly intended to be a concealed carry gun. Evidence of that is the double action trigger, and the whole philosophy of this short barrel, or the longer barrel on a small package, is for concealability and for a defensive weapon. It's not going to do anything for you at the range. So that's obviously the market it's going after, and that just so happens to be the exact type of gun that you want to be 100% dead solid reliable, and I was definitely not having that experience at first. Fortunately, the kinks seem to have ironed out. I think a lot of it was just due to ammo sensitivity. I think I had, the Federal Champion ammo was just bad to begin with. You're not supposed to use that. The White Box, they have inconsistent quality control. I think maybe it was just bad ammo with that too. But, recently it's been running 100%. Spear Gold Dots, put every single one of them through, no problem. So for right now, I'm going to give the reliability a pass. However, it is something to keep in mind. It's this novel new system competing against John Browning's 100-year-old proven designs. And if you do have a problem, it's tough to clear. It is just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind if you're getting this gun for a concealed carry piece. And personally, I'm not going to carry that just yet. I need to put another 1,000 or so rounds through before I replace my Walther PPS. But I have been pleasantly surprised recently with the reliability of it. So my other big criticism really is just going to be the price, and it goes in tandem sort of with the novelty, some might say gimmicky nature of this claw feature. The price on these is really high. It's $1,000 to start off with. You go up to $1,200 for the special finishes, and what are you getting for that? You get this shorter barrel, or the long barrel, in a smaller package. It gets you an extra 150 feet per second, 50 extra foot-pounds of energy, whatever. Is it really worth the extra $500, $600, $700 over, say, the Walther PPS, over a car, over a Glock? The gun is concealable, yes, but there are guns that are just as small, a lot cheaper, and it's just going to really be a tough sell, I think, for the Boberg Corporation to get people to buy into this novel claw feature, which is untested basically, and then also to pay that extra premium, which is pretty substantial, honestly. I'm not doubting the value of the gun. It's clearly well made. It's hand fitted and everything, so I can't really fault them for the price, but it's really going to be tricky, I think, to sell people on that. Because of that, if you were coming to me and you had to stretch to that $1,000 mark, I probably wouldn't recommend this over just a regular $500 concealed carry piece with the traditional John Browning design. It's going to work, and it's a lot cheaper. But if you're interested in trying out real innovative designs like this, like I am, if you can appreciate the engineering behind it and everything like that, I would definitely say go for it. And if the price was lower, I would also say go for it. If this was a $600 gun, I would go for it. But as it stands, I think the price is really the biggest attractor of it. Moving on into the conclusion, overall I really do like the gun, and I'm glad I have it. And I did sign up for the full-size list, and that's testament right there to how much I like this gun and how cool I think it is. I'm not super optimistic about how successful it's going to be, unfortunately. I wish I could be, because I love to support small manufacturers. I talked to Arn, and the inventor, and he's real friendly, he's real passionate about his product, but I just think there's a real sort of philosophical disconnect between having this modern and innovative design in a concealed carry gun that necessarily has to be completely reliable. I just think it's really going to be an uphill battle to gain market acceptance after the initial early adopters buy their guns, which they are selling like hotcakes right now, is my understanding. You get on the pre-order queue, it takes you about 3 or 4 months to get your gun. But after people like me buy their guns, I'm just not sure that the market's going to be ready to pay so much for a gun that, while it's cool, is it that practical? It's really not a practical gun, I guess, is what it comes down to, in my opinion. But I do like the gun. It's well made, fun to shoot. Now that the reliability problems have straightened themselves out, it seems like, it's definitely ammo sensitive. So once you figure that out with your particular gun, it is fun to shoot. I'm accurate with it, have fun shooting it, and overall I do like it a lot. I'm glad I have it. So go check it out, bobergarms.com. Get on the pre-order queue if you'd like, or if you're impatient, just hop on Gunbroker. You can usually find one for about the same price as the pre-order price, and you can get it right now. So definitely a cool gun, and I wish the best for the Boberg Arms Company, because we could definitely use more innovation like this in the firearms world, I think. So thanks for watching.